Good morning, my dear colleagues. This is Al. Along with me is Judy Mayfield, Belinda Igovich, and what's your name?
Bernie come lately.
Bernie come lately Thomas. And today is Tuesday, May the 26th. I hope you all had a very restful and safe Memorial Day, unlike Linda Arthur, who, just because she thought she was a school bus driver, could operate a little motor scooter in her driveway, which of course she only went about 10 feet before she busted her arm. So if you see Linda walking around with a cast, that's what happened to her. Just because you're a school bus driver don't mean you can operate any other type of machinery out there, in some cases like Linda. So, a couple of weeks ago, we sent out a Google form asking employees to share some of their best practices and how they deal with students. And there was a lot of really great responses. In fact, they were so good we decided to make this PowerPoint voiceover and share them with you. We will be doing this in 2 series, and we will share them hopefully here in the next few days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn to Belinda, and we're going to look at the first slide. Now, on the first slide, we have Mike Shova. Mike talks about respect, Belinda. What do you think about that?
I love that Mike talks about respect. If you look, it's as if he tells them why he wants them to follow the rules, not just do as I say. And he's consistent with them with following the rules. So everybody has to follow the same rules the same way all the time, which is so important because they will know if you're not consistent and you let Bernie sit in the front seat one day and eat her snack, but you wouldn't let Al do that the next day, they're going to call you out on that stuff, and then they're going to have less respect for you, and you're going to have a harder time trying to get them to follow the rules and be safe. So I love that Mike listens to his students and explains to them why he needs them to do what he needs them to do.
So I would think consistency really helps us with that respect piece. And then when you have respect, young children usually follow the rules established for them.
Yep.
Right? So that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next. We have Mary Milham. So I'm going to turn to, what's your name again? Bernice come what? Lately?
Yeah.
Thomas. So, Bernie, Mary talks about learning students' names and interacting with them on a personal level. How many years have you been with us now?
Heading toward 40.
40 years. What do you make of that?
I think that's an excellent tip. And even all the years I have been here, we were asked to do that. It's very, very helpful as far as having control and getting to know your students. Everyone likes to be recognized, so the sooner you learn your students' names, the better you will have with student management on your bus. Calling someone, hey you, or you with the pink shirt is not going to work if you say, hey Al, put the butt on the seat. You know, that's what's going to work for you because you call them out by name and they aren't always sure how you know their name. As I said, I did everything possible when I was driving to learn my students, and I used to do it by stop. You know, everyone has their own way of doing it, but I used to do it by stop and learn the kids that way. But that's an excellent tip, and if we all followed that, I think you would find you would have much better control of your bus, and when you call someone by name, you would get their attention. So I would definitely adhere to that tip from Mary. Good tip, Mary. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So next we have a tip from Chrissy Austin, and Chrissy talks about outlines. So I'm going to turn over to Judy Mayfield. And yes, Judy is not a school bus driver, but she is a school transportation secretary, and she deals with a lot of angry parents because more often than not, those calls are generated because we as a team, drivers, attendants, administrators, whatever, somebody somewhere along the line failed to follow the laws, rules, regulations, and policies. So Judy, from your experience, from your side of the house, why are keeping outlines updated so important?
Up here in the office, it causes a lot of pain and suffering if people do not keep their outlines updated, because what happens is the sub will come on, they will follow the outline, which is not what the regular driver sometimes has been doing. And so we'll get the calls from parents who are very upset, who say that the driver stopped in the wrong spot. I'll look at the GPS. Of course, I'll see they stopped in the exact right spot, and sooner or later we figure out it's because the driver is not necessarily following the outline and did not update. Tammy Martin would tell you, please, please, please don't make up your own stops. Say all the time, people still do it. So it's very difficult, certainly for us in the office, but as Chrissy says, it's even more probably difficult for the folks who are out driving the bus, subs, especially newer people, very difficult. So.
Perfect, thank you for that explanation. And indeed, I do totally agree that keeping outlines is very important for a lot of things, not necessarily just to keep bad phone calls away, but really, for me, it's a safety issue. It's a huge safety issue, right? So, let's go to the next slide. And we have our friend Jacob Krasinski. And Jacob talks about if you use someone else's bus, you got to do certain things to it. And let me flip that over to Belinda. And Belinda, can you talk about that a little bit? So, we have drivers that we assign buses to, and unfortunately, when they're out, and we have subs in, or even quote a contracted person who's subbing, and we give them that person's assigned bus, that does create some problems, because you guys hear it first as dispatchers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to kind of talk more about that?
Yeah, so first let me say, everyone should be keeping their buses clean and swept. So a sub or a contracted sub really shouldn't be getting into a pigsty of a bus to begin with. So we should really be making sure that we're doing that. But when you get into a bus that's not yours, you should definitely, clean it up, especially if you find it clean. Even better, that's even better. Keep it the way you clean. But I also like that Jacob brings up a good point about the seat, because I got to be honest with you, I never really noticed that. I have small legs, so I'm one of those people that pull the seat all the way up, and then I get out and I leave the seat like that. So, try and put the seat back. Try and leave it how that person uses it, mirror-wise and seat-wise, because that's going to help them the next day when they get back into the bus. So I really like that. That was a good point from Jacob.
Very good. I agree with you. And it's, to me, it comes down to, we heard that word earlier, respect. It's really about respect. We should be respecting each other as well, right? By taking care of each other's equipment.
Absolutely.
Very good. Bernie, I want to turn to you for Heather's comments here, what her best practice is. And she talks about keep a bag of, quote, caught being good items on the bus. And it can have a lot of different things in it, such as bouncy balls, kazoos, pencils, erasers, stickers, Happy Meals, toys, emoji squishy, and the list is really can be endless. From your perspective, again, from your almost 40 years of experience, because you've seen it all, more than me. I've only been doing this 19 years, so you want to comment?
Yes, I think this is also a good tip from Heather, and I think she's using a little bit of reverse psychology when you're trying to catch someone being good. It's always pleasant when you hear somebody being good on a bus, instead of trying to correct someone or tell them to sit down in their seat, turn around, stop hitting, stop spinning, whatever they may be doing. But when you can say, hey, Heather, I saw you get in and you straightened out your seatbelt and put it on. Here, to have something from the being caught good bag, and let her pick out like whatever she may want. That also gets the attention of the other students on the bus, that we are being rewarded for proper behavior. And I'm just going to throw this in there because it's coming down the pike about having to wear seatbelts. Let's strongly encourage kids to wear seatbelts. Caught being good bag might be something that will work and be very successful for you. Thank you, Heather, for that great tip.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And I appreciate, Heather really taking the extra steps here to help manage her students on the bus. That's really very good of her to do so. Let's flip to the next slide. And here we have Anonymous, submitted by Anonymous, or as Bernie would say, any mouse. So any mouse talks about washing or cleaning the windshield on a sloppy, wintry day when you park that bus. Why do you think that's important, Belinda?
I actually really liked this tip because I wish I would have known that when I was driving, because as we know, the diesel buses take forever to warm up. So a lot of times you got to be driving before your windshield is completely clean, or you're driving around the compound to get that going. So I really like this, to clean it while it's warm, and then the next day, in that cold weather, when you're trying to warm up that bus, it's already going to be clean for the most part. I thought that was a great tip from Any Mouse.
I think so too. It kind of raised my eyebrow, and I said, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
So that's a great
Yeah.
tip.
Are you
And
sure
you know
it's
what?
Minnie Mouse? Maybe it's Minnie Mouse.
Or Minnie Mouse, either one. It's an awesome tip. And like I said, I wish I had known that when I was driving, because I definitely would have done that instead of.
Safety, right?
Yeah,
Again,
absolutely.
we got to underscore that word safety, and we have to do everything we can to make sure we have a culture of safety, and this is one way of doing that. Okay. Violet Forget submitted something here that talks about, monitor, bus attendant, whatever you want to call them, working with school bus drivers. So, Bernie, why don't you jump in on that?
Yes, I think that's a good tip from Violet, but monitors and the driver should always be a team and working together, and the pre-trip is an excellent idea. Like the monitor can check the lights as the driver is putting on the brake, turning on the signals from the rear. They can check to make sure that's there. They can also, monitors can check seat belts, make sure that they're all in working condition. They can help out with the cleaning of the bus. Actually, anything to assist the driver so the driver can drive safely and concentrate on what they're doing and not worrying about, are all the seat belts hooked, are all the kids sitting down, was the floor swept, were the lights all working. I think if we work on being a team that works together, it'll make for a much better year, and everyone will get along, and the bus will stay just sparkling clean if everybody works together to do that. It's a great tip. Thank you, Violet. And I do agree with you. The monitor should assist the driver with the pre-trip. Thank you.
Awesome. I like that idea as well. And you know what? That's really what the essence of teamwork is. Violet is not a school bus driver, but she can go out there and assist that school bus driver. That's what teamwork is about. And I appreciate colleagues like that who don't say, it's not my job, right? To me, those folks that do that, they really are being lazy and they're taking the easy way out. We should be helping each other, and my hat is off to you, Violet, for coming up with that. There we go, another Annie Mouse. And here, whoever sent this in is talking about at the bus stop in the morning while it is still dark. And I'm going to turn to Judy on this. Even though she's not a school bus driver, I think she's going to get the essence of what this is all about, right?
Absolutely. Hashtag not a driver. We're going to hear a lot of that today. But I thought this was really cool in the morning when it's dark out. This driver turns on the interior lights. Once again, we're underscoring safety. It's really hard to see the hand signals, I think, in a dark bus. So very important the kids be able to see you. But more than that, it's also a courtesy. The driver says they leave these lights on until the student is fully seated. That's just plain nice. And as Jane would have said, nice matters. I think when the kids realize you care about them, then it makes all the difference in the world. So we got safety and courtesy all combined in one.
Excellent. I appreciate that. And Judy, you hit it. Safety and courtesy. You hit the two themes on that, and I appreciate that. So, next slide. George Nadell, he's got a bunch of tips actually. We only listed some of them up here. That talks about student management for elementary children. So I'm going to ask Belinda to kind of talk about what George has to say in his best practice.
I have to tell you, this was another one of my favorites. Because one of my favorite topics is student management anyway, and he had some amazing ideas that he actually did, counting contest. This not only teaches them, it's educational, right? So it's helping them learn on the bus what they might be learning in school. So that was super cool. He gives them different riddles. He actually looks them up, buys puzzle books, this and that, looks up children's riddles. Breakfast surveys I thought was really cool. How many people had pancakes today? How many people had eggs today? Because you're also learning what they like by doing this, so you're getting to know them on a different level, Birthdays, who's got birthdays coming up, that's even better, because now when that student gets on, you remember their birthday, and that's, super important to them. They think you're, the greatest thing in the world, because, Mr. George knows my birthday, and maybe you do something nice for them. I really like this password thing. Okay, that was so cool that this way, especially for day variant people, when you get a day variant, jot this down, because you give the students a password, and then when they get on the bus, if they don't say the right password, they're on the wrong bus that day, or they're not getting on the right bus, or if they don't know the password. So that's a super cool way, I thought, to make sure you have the right kids on your bus. Again, safety, you're not taking the wrong kids on your bus, dropping them off when nobody's home. You're getting them right there. You're getting them right at the door. Nope, you don't belong on this bus today, or you don't belong on this bus at all. Let's find you your real bus. So really cool ideas from George. I think everybody should kind of come up with one of them. Awesome. Thank you, George.
Well, absolutely, and for me, the key concept of everything that George submitted is really educational, right? Often enough, we say, we're not being treated as part of the team in the district, or the principals don't look, but we are. We are part of the educational process, and what he laid out does exactly that. And again, kudos to you, George, for coming up with these best practices. So the next slide came to us from Anastasia Jerome, and I'm going to ask Judy to comment on Anastasia's best practices here, although they have nothing to do with driving the school bus or managing students, but they have a lot to do with what you, our colleagues, need to know and should be doing. So
yeah, this is a great tip, because especially during this time, we've seen how important it is to actually check your email. We've been trying for years to get people to read their email, and now it's happening just out of pure necessity. This is one I actually learned relatively recently myself. Instead of having to go in to your browser on GoShinNet and then go into the email, it's very simple if you just download the Google app, and you can look at your phone, just tap on it, and there it is. Anastasia wrote some really great instructions on exactly how to do this. So if you need those, just email me or call me, and I'll be able to email those out to you as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that, Judy and Anastasia. Hopefully more people will embrace and engage using the social networking tools that are available, because unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, that is really the wave of the future, given this pandemic that we have been experiencing for the past 3 months or so. All right, Teresa Urban talks about, again, knowing your students and their needs. Teresa is a bus attendant, and she's coming at it from that perspective. So, Bernie, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, I will. This is a good tip from Teresa, who has been with us for many years, and she's an excellent attendant, and this is one of the reasons why she is an excellent attendant, because she's saying, know your students. That's not just knowing their names, it's know your students, know a little bit about them, know how they board the bus, know where they sit, know how they get off the bus. Do they want to be greeted? Because every child doesn't necessarily want to be greeted. They just want to get on the bus. Know the child. Know more than their name. Know what their needs are. Do they need to sit near the window? Do they like to sit on the inside? Do they want to have a book when they come in? All these things. And if you need help with learning some of the needs of the students, you can always check with me, and I can try to find out for you. You can always check with parents. I mean, they're a good source of letting you know what the child's needs are. Just getting these two things down will let your students know that you're there to make their trip safe, which is another good word to use when you're talking with the kids. And if they're a little bit upset, say, I'm going to keep you safe on the bus, And whatever the driver's name is, they're going to drive the bus safely so that you will be safe and you will be happy and ready to learn when you get to school. Thank you, Teresa, for that insight. Truly enjoy that tip. Thank you.
Thanks, Bernie. The next slide is from Brian Evans, and I'm going to take that right quick. So Brian talks about keep an eye on the road and scan your mirrors, right? Basic stuff, but you would be surprised, especially sitting here in my chair looking at videos from the interior of the school bus, how many of our colleagues love to, as they're driving forward, they keep looking more often on that interior mirror to see what's going on inside their bus than to see what's going on outside of their bus. And more often than not, that is a contributing factor to some of these accidents or incidents that we have here in the department. So indeed, keep your eyes on the road and scan your mirrors. Outstanding best practice. Brian, thank you for sharing that. Belinda, Sue English submitted a rather a very detailed best practice, and as you can see, there's a lot of words on this slide. So can you summarize that for us, please?
Yeah, I really like this one from Sue too, for a bunch of reasons. One, it helps the students because she talks about quizzing them when they get to the bus port to see if they remember the letter of the seat they're sitting in. She tells them to look at their neighbor, introduce themselves. That makes new friends, and it also helps them remember who they're sitting with. I really like that she puts the seat number on the outline, because that also helps subs too. I mean, you know, subs don't always have the time to look and read a seating chart. So now when they're looking at the outline, they can look right there to see when they, especially when they get, you know, she talks about getting to stops where there's 19 kids at the stop. You know, if it's right there on the outline, like she puts the seat number there, it's really helpful because the kids will know really quickly if they're not sure. It's right next to their name, she can tell them. You know, and also the seating charts that we provide, like she had mentioned, can be small. The you know, where to write is small. So in order to do that, it's a little time consuming. So in order to speed things up, she puts it right next to the name on the outline, which I really like, and then, you know, quizzes them. And then I also like that she tells them, just give it a try for 2 weeks. If it doesn't work out, we'll come up with another solution, rather than just changing the seat right away. I think that's a really good message to kids, you know, give it a try, you know, try it out first. If it doesn't work, then we can talk about it rather than just constantly, otherwise you're constantly moving seats every day. So she had a lot of really good points that I liked for a number of reasons. So thanks a lot, Sue.
Well, Linda, I'm going to pop in here because we only have so much room on the slides and we only have so much room in here. So what we're doing is, you can tell in the email, we're attaching all of these tips in detail, so you know you can go back and look at them, and they're just great. And you can also find out, if you read this at the bottom of your email, why George Nadell is 102 years old. Not giving it away, you have to read it.
Bernie, Dan Brumfield, best practice, talks about, again, learning the student's name. I know we talked about that before, but that is a theme that keeps coming up. You want to take that for a few seconds?
Sure. I'm glad to see that it keeps coming up and people think of that. Excuse me, but that is one of the most important tools you can learn is to learn the student's name. And once again, as I said, it gets them involved in the bus ride. They know that you know that they're on the bus. They know that you know where they're sitting on the bus. And something that helps in learning names when you're assigning seats, you know, and if they're, you have 3 students in your seat, I would say, Belinda, she would say yes, and then Bernie, and I say yes, and then Judy, yes, and then you could do it real quickly, say Belinda, Bernie, Judy, you know, and then if you keep repeating, you get to know their name, and they also know that you're learning their name because they see that you are standing there and you're totally interested in what they're doing. And it helps, like with control, because Dan was new to us this year, and he was working as a sub, and I think that this hint really works for him because we had no issues with Dan on the bus, and I just happened to speak with him recently, and he was telling me how great the kids are, and he has a knack for learning the kids' names almost spontaneously as they get on the bus. Some people have that ability. I personally do not, so I have to work at it a little bit. But you may find that you have this ability too once you try it. Great tip, Dan, and totally agree and hope that everyone follows that tip of learn the students' names.
Thank you, Bernie. Thanks, Dan. So, Donna Dunstan, as you know, Donna is British, and I'm going to quote, and this quote is a British saying, right? And it means to do things the right way from the beginning. But how the Brits say it is, start as you mean to go on and be consistent. I can't use her accent, I can't emulate her accent, but that's what she says. And she said that she found that if you stick to the same messages from day one, then it becomes easier over time to manage students and their expectations. She has found it good to introduce herself at the beginning of the school year by name, and then she briefly explains to the students what they can expect from her as their driver, that she's going to give them a ride to school and back home every day, and she's going to do that safely, right? And that she's going to keep her bus clean and keep it tidy for them so they have a clean environment. She wants them to remain seated on the bus while the bus is moving, keep the voices down, and this helps, what she says, what Donna says is that it helps the students to understand that it is actually a team effort to make sure everyone's ride is comfortable and safe. And she further states that you should always treat every person that you meet as you want to be treated yourself. That's an old saying, really, and a great saying to live by in our everyday lives, not necessarily just as school bus drivers or school bus attendants or office people or mechanics, right? And again, we get back to the idea that, you know, you want to greet the persons every day with a smile, and you're going to hear about the smile here on another slide here soon. And use their names. Here we go. We're talking about names, right? And she says it really makes life easier for everyone. And I totally agree with that. I've seen it. I've seen the successful bus teams that do that versus those that don't. And yes, it works in every sense of the word. So next, we have Gwen, and some may know, some may not, but Gwen is going to be retiring at the end of the school year. And Gwen talks about showing the kids a wastebasket. You want to pick on that there, Belinda?
That is a good tip, because we all have those. Sometimes you can't get the basket. It's just bus driver, and then before you know it, it's on the floor. But yeah, I mean, that's a really good tip. I like that, bring them to the front, because a lot of times it could just be motion sickness. You know, I get that if I sit in the back seat too long. I'm in a car, so I can imagine what it's like being in the back seat for a little kid bouncing all over after they've just had breakfast and stuff that's probably not settled. So I like that she pulls over. She doesn't just say, hey, come up and get the basket. You know, she pulls over, she gets them to the front, and then she gives them the basket. To avoid having to clean that, which is really good. But that's a great tip. Definitely get them to the front if you can. Thanks for that vivid image, Gwen. And we're sad that you're leaving, but happy that you get to retire. So.
Indeed. And so next, our very own Bernice, who's been here 40 some odd years, says, think before you speak. Ask for help when needed. Are you saying think before you speak, like, you know, when you called me a moron, you should have gave it some more thought before you spoke? Is that what you're talking about, Bernie? You want to kind of like help us out here?
Yeah, I should have thought, because like maybe I would have thought of a better word. But anyway, when I say think before you speak, sometimes we're all, you know, we get so wrapped up in what somebody is saying, and they may not necessarily be agreeing with us, or you're trying to discipline a child on the bus. And instead of listening to what they're saying or what their complaint is, you automatically jump and you start, you know, reprimanding the child for something they may or may not have done, you know, unless you specifically saw it. But I think that you need to think of what is the outcome. If I have this discussion now and say what I say, because sometimes we all get a little hot and you say things that afterwards you say, I wish I hadn't have said that. But it also gives you opportunity to think and choose your words carefully, because the last thing any of us wants to do is hurt somebody's feelings, particularly if we're looking for something or looking for some kind of a response from that person. So it's not always easy to do, and it maybe takes as many years as I've been here on this earth that you learn to think before you speak, because sometimes you learn a very hard lesson by not doing that. And the other part of my little advice here is ask for help when needed, and the operative word here is when needed. Many of you come in to see me, and I'm always happy to see you, but you start telling me like something has been going on, or it's been going on since the beginning of the year. Okay, that was September. This is February. I can help you better if you tell me what's going on in September. So when you need help, and you do need help if you're getting frustrated with your run, my door is always open, as you know, and I'm willing to help you come up with suggestions. And there have even been points when I've actually ridden on a bus, to see like what's actually happening on the bus, and also I've watched videos to see what's happening on a bus. But once again, when you need help, and that's not a sign of weakness, that's actually, a sign of strength, because you're at the point where I need some input from here to help me do my job. So don't feel uncomfortable coming and asking for help. And the other thing I'm going to say here before I end on this, and this is since I've been home because of the virus, I've been watching Ellen DeGeneres, and she says at the end of every show, be kind to one another. That is a big tip for everyone. Be kind to one another. Makes life much easier. Thank you. I know I've rambled on because I'm getting the stink eye. So.
Bernie, I have a suggestion for you to be kind to me. Every Friday, mushroom pizza on my desk, and that would show great kindness. I really appreciate that.
That would just be filling your tummy.
All right,
That's
for
not
me and George. All right. Well, Bernie, since you're rolling, and I'm going to let you speak some more, Laurel Hayes says, keep smiling.
And that's true, because smiles are a sign of what you are. They can be sincere. And sometimes it's better to smile at someone than to frown at them. It also lightens your face where you're approachable. Sometimes when you're just walking down the hall, look at your co-drivers and attendants that go there, and how many happy faces do we see? That's one of the things I hear often about Elkie Kane. She's always smiling. She comes in every single morning with a smile on her face, and anytime you pass her in the bus, she's got a big wave and a big smile. And that has come back to us many times, that there you have a very happy bus driver. So, keep smiling, and you know what? After a while, even you will believe your smile, and it can soften your personality or the edge that you may have that will make your life, even your own personal life, much more comfortable and easy to do, because you're able to smile. And let's all laugh at ourselves. I have a great time every day because I laugh at myself all day. But anyway, keep smiling. It goes along with ask for help when it's needed. Just keep smiling and enjoy your job, and realize how lucky we are to have this great job. We're influencing the future generation. Once again, I'm rambling, getting cut off here, so keep smiling.
Keep smiling, Bert. 2 words that have a lot of meaning, as you can see, right? And you're the reason I come to work every day, Bernice, because you make me smile. I got to give you that. So this brings us to the end of our first presentation, and we want to say thank you for all who shared their expertise with us today, and for all of you who have tuned in. Questions or comments can be emailed to Judy at
the same email address as everyone has.
What is it?
The first 4 of your last name. Most people don't know my last name, which is pretty funny. It's Mayfield. So it's JUDY at shinschools with an S, shinschools.org.
Stay tuned from Tips from the Trenches Part 2, which will be coming soon as well. Meanwhile, my friends, stay safe. We miss you and hope to see you sooner rather than later. Peace out.